All right, in this video, I'm gonna go over the GetRx Phoenix cable tower. Very much anticipated by a lot of you guys, and GetRx was gracious enough to send this to me out for review. This being out for pre-order right now. Of course, I'm gonna give you guys my honest review, just like on the last product they sent me, the GetRx RX3 Tornado Smith machine type deal. Even though I did put this thing through a bunch of workouts, and every time I come in here, I keep kind of messing with it and trying to break the thing. I will say, and there's some flaws here, I'll point that out right up front. I do have some other plans at how I'm going to integrate this rack along with other things, because that was something that actually caught my eye with this, especially other just single stack cable towers. What this has going for it, especially considering the other competition that's out there, such as the Force USA tandem tower, is that this thing, aside from just being the 3x3 1-inch holes, you can add in all sorts of attachments. It has its patented tornado arms that rotate 180 degrees. And what's unique about this one is that now they're oriented on this side. This opens up a lot more doors, especially for yours truly, as I find it very comparable to kind of the feel and the cable tension and also distance that my Total Gym Saudi Men's trainer over there also kind of gave off, and I love that too. I also noticed they did make a couple little upgrades to this. I will comment on that. But I'd say the biggest thing going for this, aside from the 1-to-1 and 2-to-1 cable ratio you can take on this rack, is that it does not have to be bolted to the wall, which I think is a huge plus, although I will comment that you should be mindful about the stabilization about this. And I'd say it's fairly competitive at a decent price point, although I did think it went up a little bit the first time I checked. I think now it's at a low 2000s as of right now at this recording. But I highly anticipate this is going to be a big contender when it comes to these single stack rate machines, especially if you either don't have a lot of space or you also want some of the benefits, not all the benefits, but there's definitely some unique things with this, of not having a full-on dual cable functional trainer. So as far as shipping, unboxing, and assembly, this thing came in one box. I would say it took me about 2 hours, give or take, to put together. What I do like about this is it's pretty simplistic in design. It's very similar to their other, I think it's the RX3000 cable stack they had, minus the tornado arms that I think is like $500 cheaper. They did hook me up with these kind of Matador dip bars, and otherwise just comes with basic handles. They also gave me this clip where you can link the two cables together that they also sell on their website. I would probably opt for picking up those stabilizer arms. Now I'm actually at somewhat of a slope in this garage. You know, this is a very small operation here, guys. I don't have any giant warehouses and stuff to put things. And actually, I somehow kind of like how mobile this is. I don't want to give like lip service, as I always say, but I can, if I want to, shimmy this to a certain spot, which is nice. I'll give it that. But what is not nice is if I got some weight on the stack, and if I give this thing a nice little pull, you can see what happens there. Now there's a lot of ways you could just weigh this down. You could put some weight horns here and put some weight plates and secure it, probably no problem. That's just something I was mindful of. If you're pulling with this tower up high with heavy weight, you could potentially, I could see, really pull this thing, you know, down. So that is something I would say to be very mindful of. Other than that though, it is fairly a stable piece in its own right when you are doing a variety of exercises. And then just to rattle off a couple general specs and just dimensions for you guys, all of which you can find very clearly on their website. The footprint itself is roughly 94 inches tall by 60 inches wide by about 32 inches deep. Again, you have these 3x3 11 gauge steel upright holes. The outer one looks like stainless steel, but that is just basically a chrome coating on that first upright. I'll keep saying it, you got the 1-to-1 ratios when the arms are joined together. Otherwise, it is a 2-to-1 ratio. 200 pounds on the weight stack. The increments on the single arm start at roughly 10 pounds, the dual starts at 20, and then you're kind of going up basically in 5-pound increments or 10-pound increments when they're both linked together. Now, one of the biggest issues people had with the actual tornado arms on the Smith machine, it was how heavy that was with the plastic. I thought it was fine. I mean, yes, it was heavy legitimately, but you could definitely get used to it. At least now that they've gone ahead and put rollers on here, the trolley is still heavy at roughly around 39 pounds, but no question, it is much easier to move up and down the upright with the added trolleys. Just to show you a little weight test and see how accurate this is, I got the crane scale set up on here. It's at 40 on the stack with the 2-to-1 on one of these cables. If I go ahead and give it a pull, just stretch it out a little bit, but you're looking at roughly 38, show me 38. I find it's about 2 to 5 pounds shy. All right, I'm gonna link them both together for the 1-to-1. This is a workout in itself. Got about 70-ish. So a little less on that one. All right, so as you guys can see, these are aluminum pulleys. And before I forget, the whole unit as itself feels totally smooth, no issues at all whatsoever with that. I did notice they upgraded something here, which I think this is also now aluminum. These little rollers here, and I believe there is one on the bottom side right here as well. I'll give you guys a close-up shot of that. Before, those used to be a type of, I think it was like a plastic, or maybe it was like a blackish metal from what I remember, but these definitely kind of changed color and upgraded to that. It's hard to say this, but as much as cool as that all-in-one trainer is, and if that's what you're looking for, no question, that is great. But I could easily just get do with this, because one of the issues in the give and take with a single stack cable tower is you always might be feeling like you're missing out. Yes, I love the simplicity of a single tower and just using one spot, say for lat pull downs and low rows, or maybe just cable rotations, because 90+% of the time when I'm using a cable, it's generally for one thing. Now, of course, it is good to use things for flies on occasion and or rear delt flies, all of which though, I like to use my Total Gym for that stuff as well, or just even just dumbbells. This is a nice little Goldilocks effect for a lot of people because yes, of course, you're not getting the gigantic wingspan, which I believe is 45 inches across. And yes, when you are pulling, you do not get as much cable travel. That was something I noticed, but I also wasn't expecting anything else. You kind of get used to it. Of course, if you are going with one handle, you get a lot of cable travel, no question. What I liked about this 180 is that I found myself actually pulling these things back in this position in a number of instances, but even for things such as just doing chest presses, there's actually some people that prefer, myself, I'm one of these people, having a closer distance with the handles. I noticed that even when I was using the RX3 Smith Machine Tornado type rack, I liked that doing flies than I did more so being spread out. If anything, I liked them in neutral or a little bit closer together. So this, I actually like doing things like chest presses, where if I was doing a chest press like this, you can just see this line of action kind of pulling me out here. Of course, you got this thing in your back, so to walk out with some tension can't be a lot of weight. But what I like is that I can get a nice deep stretch, and that line of action that I like to kind of refer to this is pulling me straight back. You do have to fine tune your grip. What do you prefer? And also the height. But even that, I don't like as much as this. I just feel a nice direct stretch right behind my pec like this. So me personally, and I think for a lot of people, you're gonna feel that nice stretch for chest. And of course, for various back exercises, if you want more of a stretch, if you have some sort of a platform or somewhere to post your feet up, and even if you don't, you could even just use this. It's not ideal, of course, but you could use this upright to post your feet up, and now you actually can pull this back to the behind you, and you got a nice further increased start position. And then, of course, all the other things of just chaining exercises together, I find if you just use one cable, it's a little less cumbersome, even though it's, of course, it's a good thing to have because you have more options. But when you have dual uprights, you're always kind of going to each side, checking each side. What's nice of having this on one side is it's just easy to kind of just see, and just using one trolley, it's all you got to really worry about. Still have to get used to fine-tuning some stuff, but the fine-tuning can be a good thing for finding various exercises. So when I grabbed my squat harness the other day, I was doing legs on here. One of the best cable exercises with the squat harness. And the squat harness, get the version 4, did a review from that. Awesome device. Sometimes it comes in clutch, and it did right here. This is probably one of my favorite cable, probably definitely my favorite cable machine I've used with the squat harness. And it's been touted before to use with functional trainers. The problem was the cables would always kind of get in your way. I found with these tornado arms, kind of dialing down a little bit and finding that right angle, and I wasn't messing too much with my squat harness length, that I got some really great lunges that had a lot of targeted stress on my glutes, hamstrings, specifically. It really reminded me of just doing my resistance band lunges with the resistance band and a board. And then even doing some squats, same kind of thing. It felt really good. I would say second to maybe the Vultra, using the squat harness would actually be this GetRx with these tornado arms. And because this is 3x3 1-inch holes, it's annoying to keep saying that. We might as well just kind of cave, I think, at this point, and just admit this is probably what we gotta go with, so we can find some standards here. Did not have the GetRx dual function seated knee thing, foot holder deal. They did not send that to me. I actually got this for something else I'm gonna be checking out in the future. So no affiliation at all whatsoever, at least right now. This Valor Fitness is one of the few companies that makes one of these foot plates, and this worked out pretty good putting it inside of there. But like I said, you don't necessarily need this. You could put a pole across there, 1-inch pole. I've done that. You could just post up with your feet, but that worked out good. I also did not have a brace for my knees, so that was also something. I just used another attachment from another brand, from another company. You'll be seeing in another future video. But any kind of knee brace, attachment, whatever, of course, GetRx sells theirs as well, which looks really cool. I do want to check that out. that can fit into here. And with the height of these arms, you got plenty of length, plenty of stretch to get any kind of a lat pull down. And even when I was doing this, I mean, sometimes, to be honest, guys, I said this before, probably might grab this for seated rows, but a lot of times, especially for lat pull downs, I really don't feel like I even need to brace myself. I'll just kind of go on the ground, get a stretch that way, and keep chaining stuff together if it means one less step and hooking something up. So that's just me, especially when it comes down to lats. This is one of those products that's pretty much an easy one. You already have an apparatus that's pretty much tried and true. It's hooked onto something very simplistic as far as the mechanics. It's also almost one of those things you look at and like, how has no one never thought of this before? But just a simple configuration. Of course, the pulley organization is pretty unique and cool in its own right. But the fact that you can do that 2-to-1, you can do that 1-to-1, you get benefits, and some of which I think are pretty unique benefits that you can't do in a functional trainer, at least for my personal preferences, rotating this 180 degrees laterally. Could this be in some up close components be a little bit more higher quality, like maybe stainless steel here, better knurling, just something that looks a little more kind of polished and finesse? Yes, but that is extreme nitpicky category at this point. The biggest downsides, I think, of this product at all whatsoever are going to be just the fact that this thing is not totally stable if you're gonna do something crazy. But this also next one is maybe more obvious, and you should kind of know this going into it. If you go 1-to-1 with the cable, you are gonna be bottoming out and not getting this length. But all you gotta do is just get some extension, grab some chains, mine are down here somewhere, or one of those handles that has more clips from it. I've said this in previous videos, and I think it's gonna be true possibly more so in the future. I think functional trainers are great. Of course, these tornado arms are great. I said you get really spoiled the way you use them. But I could see in the future where the functional trainer integration all-in-ones might not be as popular as getting a standalone single cable unit, not just for its versatility and things such as this, but the fact that you don't have to kind of rig and have a bunch of cabling set up around your rack. So I think something like this is going to be a very attractive thing for a lot of people. And then when you factor in, as of right now, the price this thing is sitting at, that while you could argue some other things might beat it out as far as quality and what they do, the CTM1 and even that Rep Adonis do not have the swivel arms. This, as of right now, as far as what I would be looking for in a single stack tower and its versatility and what it does with the arms, would be my top pick as of right now. Now I say that granted, I've not tried the tandem tower. I got to try that sliding bench a little more, so that might be something to consider. So that would be the only thing I'd have as like a slight reservation compared to this. Otherwise, that's really it. I think it's one of those things, it's what you see is what you get, and I think that's really a good thing. They took some improvements that people wanted on the other tornado arms, made them better, minus the stability things, which could be huge because that could be a safety concern. Hopefully this video was helpful. If you guys like this and want to check out anything from GetRx, I got a link down below, help support me and the channel and keeps the lights on in this very small operation here. Got some other cool things I'll be sharing with you guys, and that's why I said this is somewhat kind of a teaser, because you're gonna see a lot more of this with some other ideas on how I'm gonna integrate this into a future setup. Thank you guys for watching. Any questions, comments, feedback, drop them down below in the description box, and I'll see you guys on the next video.